Welcome back to a bonus episode of Flip the Script. On some Philly websites, CSN Philly, I've been reading about different journalists who've been talking about the best game they ever saw live and some outstanding games that sports writers have been able to see. So we figured we'd just do a short bonus episode of the best games that we've seen live. So I'm going to get us started with NBA action. April 25th, 1993, Phoenix Suns at Denver Nuggets. This is not a Philly related one, although it kind of is because when Charles left Philly to go to the Suns, I followed the Suns and Charles. Anyways, this was the last day of the regular season. This is a season the Suns would go on to be 62-20. The Nuggets would finish 36-46. What I remember most about this game is Charles didn't put up a whole lot of shots, 12 points, 10 rebounds. They were up 118 to 117, and Mahmoud Abdul Rauf hit the game-winning three-point shot at McNichols Arena to defeat the Suns, leaving them at 62-20. Breaking my heart, but the Suns would go on to go down 0-2 to the Lakers, come back and win that in the first round, beat the Spurs in 6, beat the Sonics in 7, and then unfortunately lose to the Bulls in 6 because Danny Ainge decided to cover Horace Grant, who was 0 for 8 in the game instead of John Paxson. Don't want to go into the rest of that game. NFL, best game I ever saw, September 30th, 2001. This is about 3 weeks after 9/11. I was back visiting my grandmother. And this was the game the Eagles won 40-18 against the Cowboys. At one point, they were down 6-0. They then ran off 40 straight points and were leading 40-6. It's 33-6 at halftime. They scored 26 points in the second half. To this day, probably the greatest game I've seen in person live. Also, that game was at the Vet before the Vet was taken down. McNabb had 3 TD passes. MLS, greatest game I saw live was October 6, 2018. PPL Park, Union against Minnesota. Union win 5-1. What was so great about it is we sat in the Rivers End. Union scored 4 goals in the first half, which almost never happens. They almost very rarely score 4 goals in an entire game, but they did it in the first half. Last game of the regular season. Went on to lose in the first round of the playoffs. NHL, best game I ever saw, October 11th, 2010, was the Flyers versus Avs home opener when they raised the banner from the previous year where they lost in the Stanley Cup Finals. Not going to go into that. But the excitement was incredible watching them raise the banner. What should have been a Stanley Cup banner, but wasn't. And when the team was consistently good and there was hope, you started to feel that again before the league was shut down this year. That's the best NHL game I've seen. And the best MLB game is October 17th, 2010, Citizens Bank, NLCS, Game 2 against the Giants after a heartbreaking Game 1 loss that they should have won. The Phillies would go on to win Game 2 6-1. It was 2-1 going in the bottom of the 7th when we scored 4. Roy Oswalt scored. Pitched I think 7 innings in that game. We scored 4 in the bottom of the 7th. To win 6-1, would go on to lose that series, sadly, and that's probably a story for another day. Greatest
disappointment
playoff failures. But those are my 5 best games I've seen live from the 5 main sports. We will go into one. I'll let Jackson go into the one bonus episode that we're going to throw in for football.
Oh, okay, yeah. Mine all come from the same week in 2010. We took a trip to Philly and saw all 5 different teams. So the first one was the Flyers versus
within 1 week.
Yeah.
And to this day, it has not been. I check the schedule every year. October is the only month that you can actually do it, and your baseball team has to be into the playoffs
and
in order for it to make.
So
to see all 5 teams in Philadelphia play within a 1-week span.
So same as his, October 11th, Flyers versus Abs. They won 4-2. Rose the banner. Pretty good game. I think Jeff Carter scored 2 goals. Giroux scored 1. And throwback name Daryl Powell. I just remember Powell a little bit. Scored the empty netter. And then on the 12th, the 76ers beat the Celtics 103-92 in a preseason game. Pretty sure we met Hip Hop that game.
It was the first preseason win for the Sixers that year, too.
Yeah, and we met Hip Hop, who's now not a mascot anymore. we won't go into the only loss of that entire trip was on the 14th. Flyers lost to the Lightning, but then we went to a Philadelphia Union versus New York Red Bulls game. Now I couldn't find most of the specifics of this game. I did find who scored. Fred, sorry if I mispronounced these names, Cairo and Michael Orozco scored the goals for the Union, but that's not why it's the greatest game. There was an unbelievable save by a Union defender where the goalie was just out of his net and the guy stood up. Well, of course he was standing up, but the ball comes in and he just saved it and it flew out and it would have been a goal if
That
it
was
wasn't
credible.
there.
It was, I think it
Oh
was
my
bonus
goodness.
time, or I think it was in extra time after the 90th minute, and up 2-1, and we're sitting right behind the goal,
Oh,
not
like
not on
right
the river
behind
end,
it.
kind of under the scoreboard, and the defender's in the perfect spot, saves the goal, and they win the game literally less than a minute later.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Next one, Eagles versus Falcons, a 31-17 win. Kevin Cobb started. Michael Vick was injured that day.
October 17th.
Yes, October 17th. Deshaun Jackson scored twice early, and then he was injured by Dante Robinson. If you go and look up the hit, I wouldn't recommend it. It's not a pretty hit. That's mainly what I remember from the game. I had a Deshaun
Nasty.
Jackson shirt on, and he got injured, and I was bummed. But Macklin scored to make it 21-0, and then Macklin scored again in the third, and the final was 31-17. Kevin Cobb got the win after the game.
Kevin Cobb, wow.
After the game, Andy Reid said Michael Vick was still a starter. So that's what was going on in 2010 in Philadelphia. If Kevin Cobb would be the starter, and then of course Phillies versus Giants,
Same night
as
the Eagles game.
6-1 win. I have another bonus one for the Phillies too.
Well, before we go, go ahead.
For the Phillies too.
Well, let's summarize that week. So in that week, we saw what's so incredible about that week is not only does it never usually line up, and it hasn't lined up again since, but on Monday we saw the Flyers home opener, which was a win. Sixers was their preseason game, which was a win. It was on Saturday the last game of the Union's regular season. And Sunday it was the midpoint of the Eagles season, and also Sunday was playoffs. What's incredible about it is not only did we see 5 different sports within the same week, all at home, but they were all wins.
Almost not repeatable.
All wins. So you could try to repeat it and go to those games, but for it to fall perfectly like that, your team has to be in the postseason in baseball. And as we know, the Phillies have not been in the postseason since 2011. The year after I did that, in 2011, I looked to see if it was possible with the scheduling, and it wasn't. And the Phillies haven't played any meaningful baseball since then. So hence, it really hasn't been possible. The earliest it could have been done again was 11. So if the Phillies can get themselves back in the playoffs, it might be repeatable one year. Go ahead with the bonus.
So my bonus episodes, now you got me off track. The bonus games would be both Phillies games. The first one would be the first pitch game, which is on my YouTube channel. You can go and find that. Dominic Brown hits a walk-off.
June 17th,
I think single.
2013.
And then the other game is Chase Utley Retirement Night. Both those games are up on my YouTube channel if you want to go find them. I filmed both.
I'm going to throw in an extra bonus game too. June 17th, 2015, 2 years later into the date, when Shaylee, my daughter, dressed up as Phillie Phanatic and danced with him on the dugout. That's a close.
I have that clip. I might throw it in there.
That's a close second to best game I saw live. I'll never forget Phillie Phanatic sitting with Shaylee, and as he hit a home run, both jumping up, and then they were dancing on the dugout and spent the whole inning. So that, I mean, it was a regular season game. In terms of best moment at a game, it has to be her, my daughter, dressed up as a Phillie Phanatic with the Phillie Phanatic.
Here's the clip. Here's the clip.
Best. Best overall game would still be the playoff game because of the importance, but best moment, that could be a whole nother episode, best moment. And the other moment that we want to throw in there is
the Philadelphia Soul.
What was the date?
August 2016. Sometime in August.
August 26th?
I don't know. Did you write it?
I thought I wrote it down on here.
Oh well, it was in
August 26th. 2016.
Philadelphia Soul playing the Arizona Rattlers in the Arena Bowl.
Now, this game was held in Arizona. It was a 4 o'clock local start time, 7 o'clock
Eastern time.
We both got out of school, went there, ended up missing
The first quarter.
most of the first quarter. Anyways, it's 42-42. The Rattlers had beaten us both in 2012 and 2013 in the Arena Bowl, so we desperately wanted this. Surrounded by tons of Rattlers fans, it's just the two of us.
Pretty much.
Not
We
a
were the
whole lot
only
of other
Soul
Soul
fans.
fans. We had the first row in the upper deck, 42-42. We got a turnover, scored, got another one scored, and I'll just never forget being shocked that was it. It's 56-42. Afterwards, we were able to go down onto the field.
I met Dan Rodabaugh, Ron Jaworski, basically the whole team.
Clint Dozell.
Yeah, it was really
we got
cool.
to celebrate on the field
With
the
the team.
Got a jersey.
Got a shirt
hat.
over
Let me
there.
see if I can
Or it's
grab
just the shirt. The shirt.
shirts that they were handing out on the field right here.
They probably didn't. They were probably like, whose family is this? They just let us down on the field because we were probably the only Soul fans there, which was really cool. Never forget Sean Kalinamoku holding up his flag.
I know.
If you go and find the video, when they lift the trophy, we're in the background to the right of the trophy, and I'm just like holding my.
They would go on to So that's probably getting to experience a championship. One of my biggest heartbreaks, I know we're kind of going a little off target here, was I was at the 1983 Michigan Panthers Philadelphia Stars USFL championship game, also in Denver.
Explain what the USFL is.
It was the United States Football League that existed for 3 years. And I'll never forget the Stars. The Stars would go on to win the title the next year and then move to Baltimore and win it that year too. But in '83, they had the game won. Michigan threw a pass over to Anthony Carter, obviously very famous. I think he might actually be in the Hall of Fame. Caught the ball on the sideline, spun, went 50 yards right down into my face, basically where we were sitting. Broke my heart as an 8-year-old kid. Broke my heart. But the Soul redeemed it for me by getting to see a championship live.
Yet again, that was 1983.
Yeah.
We're throwing it way back there. Okay, that's going to do it for this episode. We're going to try to film more bonus episodes. I've been surprisingly getting schoolwork, and I've tried to film MLB The Show stuff for you guys, but I just keep getting destroyed, like, pretty bad. But anyways, I'll try to get more videos up, so thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.